Welcome back, everybody. My name is Luke C. Marcotte. This is the Blue Collar Power Hour, and this is Harlan the Wonder Bub. See you later, Bob. Let's see what we got on the schedule today. Today we have basic electric hand tools and what you are going to need to get started on your electrical career. This is what we got rocking here. This is the Luke Marcotte Special right here. So this is a pretty loaded down tool bag. You probably don't need all of this to get started, but if you can, that's all the better. So this might come as a surprise, but this is probably over $1,000 sitting right here in a small little thing. But here's the thing. When I had my first mentor in high school who owned a plumbing company, he said, make sure you buy tools because tools will always make you money. Don't spend money on stupid things like clothes or fancy things or watches because those will never make you money, okay? Now, in an instance, yes, watches can make you money. I have friends that trade high-end watches that make quite a bit of money, but, so spend your money on tools. I started first asking for tools at 15 years old for Christmas and my birthday. I didn't have much money growing up, but, if I could get a pair of these for Christmas, it was about $50, then yeah, I'd be plenty happy. I loved them. I didn't use them for an entire year, and even the next Christmas I asked for them again and my birthday, but guess what? I was building my tools, I was building my company, and I started from there and I never stopped. So basically this is what I guess would be like a journeyman or master electrician layout, or somebody that has been in the trades for a little while and can do basically anything just out of these pouches here. You do have power tools and things of that sort, which we will go over in another video. But as for today, we're talking about this. So for starters, you want a bag, okay? I don't really ever wear these pouches. I just use them for carrying my tools around. When I first bought them, I was doing a lot of construction work on like custom homes or factories and things of that sort. So if you're doing construction, you really do want a set of pouches. It just makes everything so convenient and so much easier. These pouches here have the shoulder straps, and so I recommend those very highly. Because if you have a pouch that just goes solely on your waist, it will actually fuck up your hips and your waist, and I know a lot of old guys that hurt from it. And one of the things we talk about on this is being able to live your whole trade life without fucking up your body, which is more than possible. You just have to be aware of things. You just have to take a little extra effort to buy things such as the shoulder straps and realize that. Because if you have this, it takes the weight off of not just your shoulders and just your hips, and it puts them on both, so it evens it out over your body, and you're plenty good. And then don't overload your pouches too. I see people that overload them with so much shit that you don't really need at all costs. If I were to ever wear these, I take out most of the tools out of this, and I only leave the tools in there that I need for what project I'm doing, whether I'm getting up on a ladder or a scissor lift and things of that sort. So it's just little tiny things that might take 0.5 seconds to do that could save your shoulders and your hips for the rest of your life, okay? So for starters, we got screwdrivers. In a basic electrician pack, I have this, which is an offset screwdriver, and it's mainly for putting on cover plates. And so you can just do this and it twists it super fast, makes it easy, because as you can see, that is quite a bit faster than that. Not to mention it saves your wrist, because this is twisting your wrist like that, which gets very, very old very fast. Whereas this, it's using more of your elbow, which is meant to move more than just your wrist. Okay. So we got the offset screwdriver, which is usually a flathead. I also have a Phillips one, but I don't ever use anything with Phillips that makes use of it. There is a square head screwdriver, and this is great for panels. Most panel covers and breakers have a square head option. It's a number 2 square head, and it's great to have. I don't use it a whole lot because a lot of times they do strip things out, so I usually opt for a flathead, but it's a good thing to have. All of my screwdrivers are Klein screwdrivers. You don't need Klein, and I'm not getting paid by Klein for any of this, but they should. I just remember my dad growing up, he owned a mechanic company, and he always had snap-on tools. And I always had it in my mind that if you were passionate about what you did, you bought the best things to do it. And then I had an uncle who owned an electrician company, but he lived about 4 hours away, so I didn't get to learn from him or anything like that. But I asked him one day, I'm like, hey, what's the best tools to start buying? He said, Klein is the snap-on of the electrician world. So naturally, I went and started buying Klein stuff. And so all my stuff is Klein stuff, except for this one right here. It's a Phillips. It's actually a Southwire brand, insulated screwdriver. I actually was a part of Southwire's tool testing program, I guess, so they would send me a tool every now and then, and this is one of them. And you know, I just liked it, so I just kept it as my everyday Phillips screwdriver. And then I always had the big hunky dory here. If you see, this one's actually chipped. You're not supposed to use these as chisels or pry bars or anything like that, but I would be lying if I said that it didn't occasionally happen. This is a big screwdriver. It's got a square shaft here, so it makes good for like if you have to pry up on a little bit of things or you need some extra reach or some extra strength. It's a good screwdriver to have. Now I haven't bought screwdrivers in a long time. If I had to guess, I would say this is probably like a $12 screwdriver. Some people want to just buy the cheaper stuff, and honestly, it's the smartest thing to do. Klein does have a lifetime warranty on their tools. I don't ever use it because I feel like that if they make a good product that I'm happy with, I'd be more than happy to buy it again. A lot of people don't have that mindset because, you know, I want to support Klein. I love their tools and I want to support them, and so I put the extra effort into buying their tools, I guess. So that's an added plus with their warranty, but are they better than other screwdrivers? I'm not sure. I've never had other screwdrivers, so honestly, I don't really know. But you can certainly get away, especially if you're starting, buying one of the big packs of like Craftsman or anything like that. I know you can get like a big pack for probably $20, $30. It comes with more than all of these screwdrivers. So if that's what you want to do, by all means, go ahead. I'm not going to tell you any different. And here we have another flathead. It's a smaller one. This is the one I use mostly. Got another Klein. And then I have a mini flathead here, which is actually the same size as this one here. And I believe it's like a 3/16 tip. But you know, this is good for if you don't have the offset screwdriver to put covers on, things of that sort. And then, you know, I always have two pairs of channel locks, and they're called different names, you know, channel locks, dogs, anything like that. And then they have different number sizes. So I call these 420s and these are 430s. I like having the different sizes in case there's something smaller or something bigger I need to do, or if you're doing any kind of rigid conduit, you have two to screw the conduit together, gas piping if you're a plumber or anything like that. So I always have two pairs of dogs in my tool pouch. And then here is Crimps. So this comes in handy. I'm sure a lot of you guys have used these, especially if you've ever worked on vehicles. They just got a crimp in the middle with a cutter on the tip. I just call them wire crimps. Some people call them T&Bs. But yeah, these are handy to have if you're doing especially industrial or commercial work where you're crimping on ends to stranded wire. You definitely need a pair of these to be able to crimp everything. So these are good to have in your pouch. These are cable cutters, and these are actually a Southwire as well. And like I said, I was a part of their tool test team, so they had sent me a pair of these. The biggest mistake though is some cables, people think that these will cut anything, but they have a softer tooth on it, and so it's made to cut only copper. So these ones, an apprentice of mine was actually using them to cut a strand of triplex, which is the wire that goes overhead to feed your home. And there's a steel strength member in there. So when they cut it, it nicked it right in the middle. So these things they work, but I definitely need a new pair. And so be sure to only cut copper or aluminum with it, nothing else, because I have fucked up over 3 pairs of these. And like I said, these are $50 a piece, and that adds up quite quickly. But always have these, you know, after you've been in the trades a while and you build some of that hand strength, you can cut up to 4/0 aluminum wire. I do it all the time with them. But we also have ratchet cutters on the van that make it easier. But these just come in handy if you're making up panels or anything like that, or you making up panels or range plugs or anything of that sort. So I always have a pair of cable cutters, which is what these are called, in my pouch. Then here is a security screwdriver kit from Klein as well. So this has a bunch of different tips on it, and so different light fixtures, or if you've ever seen like in a bathroom, a public bathroom, the screws have like a rounded off edge so people can't go and take it apart. This comes with a bunch of different tips that allows you to take anything like that off. And a lot of light fixtures in commercial buildings have them as well. So it's kind of like not any screwdriver will do. You have to have the specialty set. So that's always good to have because you never know when you need it. I have a pair of regular Romex strippers. And so basically this allows you to cut 14/2 or 14/4 14-2 or 12-2 and strip the jacket off of it much quicker. And so these come in handy quite often, only if you do residential work though. Commercial and industrial work, these are pretty much garbage. And then I have these, which is Klein's Needlenose strippers. And I carry these with me all the time because you get multiple use out of it. You got the needle nose at the top, you got strippers in the middle for any kind of wire, and you got a cable cutter in the middle or at the bottom. And so these come in handy more times than I could even count. And so I carry these with me all the time. Usually when I get to a job, I drop these off and I pick up what tools I need and just stick them in my pocket and go from there. So I love these. These aren't necessary. These are more of a luxury item. But if you got the means to get them, I highly recommend them. Then we have side dikes or diagonal cutters. And so these are a Greenlee. So basically the four biggest names in electrical tools is Greenlee, Klein, Southwire, and Ideal. And so I have a little bit of a mixture of all of it. And so these are side dikes. These are just basically cutters. I'm sure you've seen them. The one thing that's different between these and normal ones though, is you see there's an angle on this. And as an electrician, you certainly need this. Okay, so with residential wiring or even like running MC or Romex wire on walls, you use staples. And if you ever have to pull a staple, imagine this is a wall, you now have leverage to pry that staple out of there. Whereas if it were a flat one, more similar to this, you now have no leverage to pull that out. You're just basically hitting the wall and you can't pull it out. So you want to have the angle head so that way you can pull things out even on a flat surface. So if you're going to be getting these, which this is a must, then definitely get this. If you're looking for a perfect like starter kit or bare minimum that you need, wire strippers, side cutters, screwdrivers, tape measure, okay? And that would basically get you more than started. That's all you would really need. So this is the tape measure I got. It is considered an old man tape measure. It's just a standard Stanley 25-foot, the one they've been making for probably 60 plus years. It's nice and simple, aluminum frame. A lot of people do not like these. They don't have the longest standout, but I tell you what, for some reason for me, they last the longest, and I've had every tape measure they make. I've had Stanley Fat Maxes, I've had Milwaukees, I've had Lufkins, anything like that. And for some reason, I always end up coming back to this. Maybe it's because they have sales and you can buy 2 of them for like $10 around Christmas time, so I just stock up on them then. But I love these. They're cheap, they're easy, and overall, they're just the easiest to use for me. A lot of people hate them, like I said, but it's where you come in handy, where you just kind of pick everything that you need. Where you kind of pick what works for you. And on this side over here, we have a utility knife. Always need one of these. You'll use them more than you could even imagine. I always have a pencil. And big thing, always, if you're marking on drywall, always use a pencil and never use a Sharpie. Because even if you paint over it, no matter how many times, Sharpie will always bleed through it. So always make sure you use pencil whenever you can. Then I have not 1, but 2 Torpedo Levels. And so I have different brands just because I bought them at different times. I love them both. This one's a Greenlee, this one's a Milwaukee. And so, you know, I have 2 of them, especially if you're bending conduit, because you can put one on a flat surface and one on a 90-degree surface or however else you're bending it. So it's just good to have 2 of them just to be safe. You don't need 2 to start, but definitely you need 1 in order to start. Then over here we have a Conduit Reamer. So after you cut a conduit, which is electrical EMT, which I'll show you here in a sec. So just in a scrap piece that we were bending, kind of teaching people how to do stuff. This is conduit, or this is considered EMT or electrical metallic tubing. Okay, and so you'll bend a lot of this if you're doing more commercial and especially industrial work. You run this wherever you need to be boxes like switches and plugs throughout buildings to protect the wires within. And so after you cut it, you then have this conduit reamer. You stick it in the end like so, and you just twist it around and it gets all the burrs off of it. It's also called a deburring tool. And so that way, there's no burrs in there to shave the wires as you pull through it. And you must do that after every cut you do on a piece of conduit. And then from there, we have a snap-on file. This is a triangular file. These are my favorite ones, especially so once you start, this reamer for conduit only goes to 1 inch. from 1/2 inch to 1 inch. But with this, anything bigger, they don't make a reamer for it, so you have to have a file. So you can grab a file, and this helps with deburring the inside and outside of the conduit. So again, it doesn't shave the wires as you pull through it. So that's a very important tool to have. More than likely, your foreman will have it until you get to a point to where you can buy one. So this isn't necessary to start, and this certainly isn't necessary to start unless you are starting in a commercial industrial setting. Then on this side, we have multiple specialty screwdrivers. So these are different screwdrivers, okay? This is obviously a stubby for tight corners and certain things. Sometimes it helps. This is actually a multi-tip one, so you pull this out and it just got all the different tips in there, but it's a stubby one. That's very important. Again, you probably don't need this to start. Your foreman or project manager or journeyman will probably let you borrow it for the time being. Just don't fucking lose it. And here's another form of a stubby. This actually came with a fan, so I just kept it, and it's come in pretty handy. And these are actually control screwdrivers for any kind of PLC cabinet or anything of that sort. And they're super, super tiny, but you know, they come in handy. And this is a multimeter. So Fluke is basically the big dog in the game. They make the best meters, in my opinion. Again, not paid by Fluke, but I should be for saying this. This is a T5 1000, which means it's rated for 1000 volts. This is just a great meter. This is probably, I haven't bought one in a long time, so probably anywhere from $150 to $200 alone. But this will basically tell you with these two testers here, you touch it to the hot and the neutral of a circuit, and it'll tell you the voltage it has or the positive and negative. And then you also have this slot right here to tell you the amperage of how much power is being pulled through a wire. So you just turn it on to different settings, and then you can just tell what kind of amperage or voltage you're running with, which is a very, very important tool. Again, probably not necessary to get started, but if you have the means, by all means do it. Again, you shouldn't be dealing with things live as a first day apprentice anyway, and so your foreman should be teaching you with one of these, preferably his own, so it saves you a few $100s. But eventually, yes, you're gonna have to get one of these and test every circuit before you play with it, essentially. And so it's a very important tool. And last but not least, the hammer. This is just a regular East Wing hammer. I've always used these. There's a lot of great brands out there. You can use whatever you want. As an electrician, make sure you get the straight claw. Most claws come down with a pretty nasty curve right there, but as an electrician, you certainly would want the straight claw. And it's just hard to say, but for so many instances, it makes things so much easier. Whether you kind of got to use it as a pry bar to pull something up, like a large electrical panel to get it off a certain distance, or shim it certain ways, or maybe put it in between conduits to shove one the other way or not. And so there's no like real specific reason to have it, but I've just found that when I borrowed somebody's that has the curve, I hate it. And when I have the straight claw, it makes it so much easier for electrical work. And there's actually electrician specific hammers, and for some reason they always have straight claws as well. So definitely make sure you have a hammer. That's certainly a need on the first day. Do not get a massive 18, 22 ounce, 24 ounce hammer. Don't get a waffle head hammer, okay? If you don't have much money and you don't have the resources to go buy a new hammer and it's all you have, I understand. Go ahead and use it, but make sure when you buy something, this is a 15 ounce hammer. This is all you need as an electrician, okay? Some guys say, oh, you need the big one because this is a baby hammer. You need a man hammer. Fuck them guys. Those are the old school mindset guys that are fucking ruin the trades and the mindset of the trades for a lot of people, you know? And so this, I mean, especially with hammering staples, you're gonna be doing this and you don't wanna be working out your wrist with a big 22 ounce hammer pounding in tiny little staples. That doesn't make any sense, okay? So make sure you just get anything like a 14, 15, 16 ounce hammer and you'll be plenty good. You don't need an electrician specific hammer. Like I said, this is just a normal East Wing, and go from there. And then the pouches, these are actually Klein tool pouches that I had bought when I started my apprenticeship. These are the one thing from Klein I do not recommend. Again, this is probably 6 years ago I bought these, and so maybe they're better now. But one thing that sucked is that these pouches actually are only attached to the belt by Velcro. And so when you put this much tools in there and you put it on, these things would actually rip off of the belt because Velcro isn't that strong. So I had to go through and I had to run zip ties through all tops of it. Mind you, these are like $100, $150 pouches. So you should expect something much more quality than that. And I'm assuming Klein probably has something that they fix the problem. But yeah, I had to run zip ties through it to hold them up. Other than that, it's simply what it is. You always want to have some electrical tape along with your pencil. And then the other pouches you just fill up with stuff you use every day, such as wire nuts, staples, or anything like that. So guys, I love tools. I love buying tools. It's fun. It's exciting. If you guys are going out buying them, I'm jealous, because especially when you get to go and buy your first tools and you allow yourself to do that, it's a great experience. I still remember my first time doing it. It's like a kid in a candy shop. Just realize that when you buy these tools, you want to buy more quality than not, because hopefully you're going to get the most ROI, which is return on investment out of it, for longer lasting and not having to borrow other people's tools because you're suck or anything like that. And realize when you are buying them that you're building a future with them, that these things will feed you, your family, they will buy you that new truck if you use them correctly. And so it's a great thing. Make sure you take care of them as well. WD-40 them, especially if you're ever using them out in the rain or anything like that. Keep them from locking up. You know, like these, they open nice and smooth. And they're broken in, but a month ago I was working out in the rain, pulled them back out, and they were rusted shut. Just WD-40 them and move smooth as butter, and it makes everything so much easier. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell below, share it with your friends, comment. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. The handle's @LukeC.Marcotte. And thanks for tuning in again today. My name is Luke C. Marcotte. This is the Blue Collar Power Hour.